Hey everybody, so I'm back to do a review of Love After Lockup Season 5 Episode 32, Runaway Fiance. Alright, if you're watching this, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's get started. These let me tell you something. This show, by and large, first of all, I'm still trying to figure out why they say Season 5, and I know I've been watching this show at least since 2014. But okay. Anyway, so we'll start off with, I can't say the most ridiculous because that's difficult competition. Julian and Chris, all right? So apparently we get introduced to Julian for the first time this episode past the trailer. Julian has apparently been a nerd his whole life, which is fine. I'm a nerd. I get it. I own it. He looks like the kind that the police would randomly have just a random stop like they do sometimes. And in this random stop, he would have like 10 women's dead bodies in the back of his trunk. Like, he looks like that kind to me. I'm not saying he does, but I'm saying he looks like that kind. Anyway, apparently he's a writer. So when he started saying that he was a writer of books, I said, this is a game for him. It's a game for him. He's looking for research for his book and advertisement by being on this reality show for what he believes is a way to write a bestseller. Okay, bruh. Okay. She's using you, you using her. I guess you use, you get used. Anyway, he also, I will not be purchasing the book, by the way. He also does not seem straight. Once again, I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying that's not my impression of him. It's very hard for me to see him engaged in sexual activity with women. Okay? But okay. And his face is fucking annoying. Just his face alone annoys the hell out of me. So he grew up Pentecostal. Like Zariah. I could tell. I can just tell. And and this is my experience with people who are Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ, the Kojic people, that's all the same group. It's the same, like, seriously, it's the same thing. There's a lot of sexual repression, I think, in most of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. But particularly, Pentecostals tend to be especially strict. In those stringent religions, there's always a lot of sexual repression. And people don't feel like it's okay to be gay. So when he said that, I was like, and then he was like, his body count of women is 3. And I was like, I bet you do say that about women because you were very specific. Your body count of men? Okay, just saying. Anyway, I have questions, not answers, just questions. So Julian goes to pick up Chris with his ugly ass cat, Chucky. I hate cats. Cats scare me. I don't like them. Anyway, so she is in a prison camp, apparently the same one that Martha Stewart was in, which is like minimal security. And you could tell because her hair was done. Like, her roots were dyed and everything. It's called Camp Cupcake. Okay, only white people get this kind of lucky. She done robbed multiple banks. Chris, you are a project to Julian. I'm just letting you know what it is. You're a project to him. Don't be a fool. All right? But she's probably playing him anyway, whatever. Chris jumps out the van and runs on top of him. Was it me or did it seem funny how she jumped all over him, ran out the van, and then that minivan that dropped her off just pulled off like nothing, like nothing had happened. Like it was a bus stop. She figured out how to rob a bank. Not because she was simply desperate for money. No. She figured out by Googling this shit. And just wrote a note to these people telling them to give her the money. And people in the bank are trained to do that so they can spare their lives. This bitch didn't get caught the first time. 2 months had gone by, nobody came knocking at her door. That's why she kept doing it. I said, bitch, what the fuck? You got away with that shit? You went to jail and then you have the nerve to be in a minimum, like a barely minimum security prison? Get the fuck out of here. I'm telling you, white people get chances that black people will never get. All right, so we're done with them. I'm sure this is going to be a shit show before it's over. So then we get, I want to talk about Arthur and Hope. Now, Hope, I'm not sure who told you that getting cute is what you look like, as you told us at the end of the first episode. But I think we need to reevaluate what we think looking cute is, because looking like one of the Muppet babies and that hot pink hair and a dress that hardly fits. And granted, I realized you were dressing for him, but it had to be really uncomfortable sitting at a regular table with your ass hanging out. Like it just what is going on? What is going on? And while I'm also on it, I'm sorry, but in my experience, people named Arthur, whether it was Arthur the Armadillo on the PBS show or Arthur Schomburg, who built the library, known as the Schomburg Research Center now in Harlem. People who have the name Arthur tend to be very studious, very smart people who go by the books, bookkeepers and stuff. What is he doing with all those tattoos all over his face? He just doesn't look like an Arthur to me. We need to rename him like Marcus or something. I can't. Anyway, was I the only one who thought Hope? Am I the only one who thinks Hope is really confused about what it means to look cute? And all the shit his mother could have pointed out, she ain't bring that up. Okay, girl. At least Hope is honest about her sexual activities. I got to get that to her. It ain't no sense in trying to force her to live like no monk. Okay, she is not in jail with him. And people do have needs. And if it was a man, they'd be like, oh, well, he's providing for her, so what's the big deal? She in jail. Okay, so give her the same treatment. It's trifling either way. So he claims he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. We have seen this movie before. But these people come on here with this fuck shit because they've watched this show like us and they want to be a part of the fuck shit. So, I mean, anything is fair game. So they go to get chicken wings because that's what he wants. Let me tell you something. Chicken wings that's my thing. Okay? And see, that's where I gotta stop. And I'm up here talking about Hope. And I'm a big girl too. I'm just saying, when you don't want your ass out like that. Okay? It's just some things that we just should not do. And really nobody should do it at your age. But I'm just saying. Anyway, so the mom brings up that she's trying to spend as much time as possible with him before she goes back to Vegas by herself. Before she can start that song and dance, he was like, but you're not going back by yourself. You have all my brothers and sisters. Like, what the fuck? So my question is, what have you been doing as his mother all along that you are so obsessed with his relationship with Hope? Because the overbearing mother-in-law, the overbearing mother while her son is in a relationship tends to be the parent who didn't do their job when they were raising them. I'm not saying that people don't have those attachments to their kids, but that kind of overindulgence in their relationship, there's something they failed to do, and then they try to make up for it because they feel insecure when they see somebody else providing that love in their life, and then they get into that competition. They don't try to do it by being a better parent. They just want that person removed. And I'm not even just going up for Hope just for the sake of it. I'm just making a point. And I get that people cannot always support their family financially in prison and travel back and forth because it is expensive. It's very expensive to have someone who is in jail and then they do these sort of discriminatory things. Like you didn't even commit the crime in the state where you get imprisoned. And that's costly. So I'm not going to judge people for that. She said she didn't forget about him. She said she fell back. He was always doing something that would keep him from getting out on parole and stuff. So apparently he kept fucking up in prison. Bless his heart, because he really does seem like he can get it together. And he said he felt especially, he didn't use the word abandoned, but he did feel like he was treated different because he was the only one with a different dad, and him and his mother have to talk through that. And I think that's fair. And whenever you see a young boy getting in trouble like that, you know, some stuff is just teenage stuff, but it's just, you know, quite frankly, society doesn't treat black boys the same way. And you got to be especially diligent in watching out in those situations. All right. So Arthur and Hope, I like Arthur. I do. All right, Kim and Joey. I can't with this shit. Was it just me, or did that whole story about seeing Kim with a light-skinned black man seem weird? And by weird, I really mean like just not adding up. You're trying to tell me 4 + 4 = 99 and shit. Like, the math wasn't mapping. It wasn't. So, like, either he didn't tell the story right, or the person who related to him just sounded stupid, or both. Whatever it was, it didn't make no goddamn sense. Now, clearly, she has been in relationships with black men. We saw that with the pictures. Okay, whatever. It's not unusual, and I know what I'm about to say is about to be mean, but oh well. It's not unusual for the overweight white woman to be able to get and marry a black man or black men. No tea, no shade. Okay, I'm a big girl myself, but let's not act like the trope hasn't been there in our real lives and on our TV screens for quite some time. Okay, when black women are heavy, they're just lazy, this and the other. They can't be that they're stressed and their cortisol levels are high, and therefore their metabolism is slow. It can't be that. But white overweight women can find a black man to marry him in a second. Anyway, so it's hard for me to see myself explaining to a man, however, who is locked up in prison, explaining my pictures to him. See, you have it mixed up. You're locked up, not me. Okay? And him saying, well, you shouldn't be hugging other men, and says, well, you wouldn't want me hugging other girls. Bitch, you can't. You locked up. It ain't the same thing. All right, but then we get Kim's character. I could already tell by the way she was describing all the relationships she was in. I knew what kind of chick she was, but nevertheless. So I can tell Kimmy sleeps around, and she is the kind that will lie until she is blue in the face before she admits stuff. So she shows up at her cousin's nail salon, appropriating blackness with the hey girl, hey, she's one of them. Her cousin Tatum is doing her nails, has her own little business in the small town, but doing her thing, right? And she asked if her and her husband are getting a divorce. Like they hadn't talked in a while, whatever. Even though Kimmy tried to convince her she does her nails, and I'm like, okay, but y'all, never mind. I don't get my nails done regularly, but people who do get them done regularly tend to get them done regularly. That's all I'm saying. So she says, well, who is the new boyfriend? Right? So she tells her it's Joey. Do you remember him? She asked if she remember him. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? You know how many Joeys there must have been? Even in a small town. Like, you just say Joey without a last name. We didn't hear nobody go, beep. None of that. So she was like, yeah, it's Joey, and he's paroled to my house. So the cousin was shocked, right? So I'm thinking, oh, he must have done something really bad in a small town, and she worried about her safety. No. Well, everybody else seems to know, while everybody else seems to know Kimmy's business, like sending pictures to Joey in jail, this was apparently news to the cousin. I was like, dang, this cousin really on her own. Then we get Tatum in a little small confessional, and she says, well, I lost my virginity to Joey. Well, you don't forget that person. I said, huh? I said, this is some Jerry Springer shit. Like, this is just getting messy. I don't care if they were young. I don't care if they were teenagers. Sleeping with the guy your cousin was dating and you knew, it's some bullshit. It was some bullshit then, and it was a sign of your character, and you did it to your cousin because she was like quiet, nice type, and you didn't give a fuck about hurting her. And now you're like, oh, it's so long ago. No, bitch, that's your character, and fuck you. I said, I knew she was a hoe. I could tell. And quite frankly, what belonged to your cousin is always off limits to you. I don't care. I don't care how many people try to come up with all these different ways. Well, it doesn't matter. No. Yes, it does. And she knows, and she don't care. She just ratchet. All right. So, okay, True and Shante. And I know people like to give a lot to Shante and say she's being stupid and silly. I really feel like, and I'm not, I ain't letting her off the hook with that. What I am saying is I really do feel like Shantae's self-esteem is really low. I think she is very lonely in terms of romantically, right? And I don't think she sees the good in herself. Like the fact that you are a single woman or a single mother, you've been able to provide and take care of both your kids, help your grandkids. You have managed to have 2 homes, be approved for 2 homes, like actual houses. And you're trying to get rid of the other one in whatever state, Oklahoma or something like that. I don't know. But y'all remember. And still able to spend money on these sorry motherfuckers. Like, you have so much going for you, Shante, and you can start that restaurant and everything. That food look good. And I'm picky. It's unfortunate that you are willing to let this sorry son of a bitch bring you down. Because it seems like a lot of your problems, even the financial ones, like that was some bullshit that people on your job told on you. It's some bullshit that not only people on your job told on you, but that they could fire you over this shit. But whatever. You know, in 2024, people being fired for being on reality TV when they still showing up at work, miss me. All right, so he's talking about he gets out of jail, okay, has not taken a shower or anything. He's talking about taking a bath together. She was like, in real life, do you think both of us can fit in the tub? I said, hello and good morning. That's real. All right, first of all, you need to wash that prison off. I'm not even trying to be mean. By yourself, okay? First. That's the first order of business for you. His nephew was like, well, it sounds like, you know, you're new here because they went and sat down and ate. He was talking about how he, in the restaurant, how basically he saw people going to eat in restaurants on reality TV. And it feels like basically I jumped into the TV. I was like, wow. Yeah, prison can do that to you. Prison can do that to you. Was it me or did the food that they were eating look cold? Like it looked like it came out cold, but what do I know? The nephew was so sweet. Like, you know, I love it. And kids can be so loving, so forgiving when they're not being mean and cruel to each other. But you could tell he was really happy to have him, and that had to feel good. All right? Then she tells us, Shante, his sister didn't show out too much. I'm surprised. She didn't show out a lot. But Shante tells us she paid $2,500 for his clothes because he likes clothes. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not his money to spend. $2,500, that's rent. What the fuck is wrong with you? And to some people, $2,500 for rent, you know, is already too much. But I'm just saying. You're trying to manage 2 mortgages. He's in new clothes and hasn't taken any kind of bath or shower. What the fuck is going on? Now see, now I'm about to talk myself out of taking up for you. Because you play too much. You play too much. Okay? What is with people walking into these stores like the sex store and then just telling people they just got out of prison? You don't have to keep telling people that. It's a sex store anyway. You ain't got to do all that. Anyway, so she's shy, she's uncomfortable, you can tell. She's spending money on the sex toys he picked out that she don't want him using. Shante girl, go and be single for a while. I mean, really be single and allow yourself to feel better about yourself before you continue in a relationship. Because I feel like, and I think the reason why I don't want to say I make excuses for Shante, but she says everything we are seeing, right? That he can't be trusted. He's never dated a black woman and then calls black women ratchet and hood, and he the one that was in prison. But then depend on a black woman to take care of him. Like, I feel like she sees it, but she just won't allow herself to not have him. And he is nobody to warn. Anyway, she's stressed out about money. She says she lost her job. She hasn't told him because he just got out. But see, that's the problem. He's allowed to unload his problems on you. When you done caught him taking pictures from other chicks and shit in the prison, and you can't tell him you lost your job. No, because you scared he'll leave you if you ain't got that kind of money. Her self-esteem is low, and it's unfortunate. So they go to the Airbnb, and I'm just like, why are you spending all this money? Why do you need to be there 7 days? You already bought a house. Girl, bye. They get to the Airbnb, and he is worried about hidden cameras and stuff. Like, I kind of get it after being in prison. When a house doesn't belong to somebody you know, I can understand why that would make you nervous. She is spending a whole lot of money. Like, I was watching, like, with my pockets hurting. Just like, oh, girl, why? Why? Don't spend that money. Why? Anyway, she says she's nervous about having sex because she always thinks in the back of her head that there is something she's going to find out that she doesn't want to know. No, girl, that's your intuition talking. Trust it. And you already know it ain't nothing worth knowing. Nothing worth staying with him for after you know it, but whatever. Shante, you got to get it together, baby girl. So, the show ends and True is gone. Gone where? I don't know. With no license. But he has a phone. Now, are the debit cards saved on his apps on the phone? Like, I don't know. Does he have access to your money? Like, what the fuck? Where did he go? Why did y'all need an Airbnb house? Like, it's just, I can't with these people. So I'm saving Zariah for last. because Zariah and Troy, first of all, I have lots of things to say about Zariah. Zariah. I could tell just by the first episode, I could tell you were holiness. Once again, Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal, that it's the same thing. It refers to the same group of people. And it's not because I'm saying that. I'm saying religiously. That's what that means. And I can tell you grew up in a Pentecostal church. As soon as I saw the setup, it looked like a Pentecostal church. And it's like listening to gospel music for me, because I did grow up in a preacher's home. And I hate the term PK, so I don't really talk about it. I don't like to. Anyway, but I can tell, it's almost like mentally I can tell the difference between like a Baptist song when it comes on, the gospel, and when it's a Pentecostal song. Like, there's just certain things that trigger. So when she walked in, I knew it was already a Pentecostal church. It's just something I could tell. And she rebelled against it. And I get it. And I will say that her parents are supportive. They seem to be supportive. You are, Zariah, which your father should have embraced and embodied for himself. What do I mean by that? I'm sure he loves his child. His children. I'm sure he loves his grandchildren. But it's clear your father's gay. Once again, that's that sexual repression I was talking about with Julian. And it happens in all denominations. But the Pentecostals tend to be especially stringent. Even though that religion is spreading across the world at a much higher rate than, National Baptist or Progressive Baptist or anything like that. And a lot of these overly religious men are the way they are because they seek out strict denominations like that to help them protect themselves from what they really desire. Not to mention, no shade, he was directing a choir too. I'm not saying all of them are like that. I'm just saying, okay. Anyway, I'm just saying, this whole idea that your parents had that he should come out and start preaching is why them Pentecostal storefronts are so dangerous and have always been a hustle. I'm not talking about Pentecostal devout people. I'm not talking about, no. I'm talking about the storefronts they take and they try to make churches out of them. I'm not saying their church is, but it's kind of this anything goes as long as you confess. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't confess. I'm just saying they shouldn't be preaching the word of God simply because they do. All right? And if they had any sense, you would know you need to go. First of all, you need to be called by God, okay? Not just feel inspired by a sermon. And I don't play about stuff like that. I don't. You do not play around with God. People call themselves into the ministry all the time. And they use it as like a marketing tool, as a recruiting tool. It's like when people say, oh, I used to preach. And I'm like, my father does that every Sunday regardless. Like, it's, I'm sure there are plenty of other things. Well, there are other things that he did. But I'm saying, like, you can't do that from the time you're like 21, 22 to now 64 years old because there's not something else driving you. And that's the call of God. You can't just be like, oh, okay, start calling yourself a pastor. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. You actually have to go to seminary, get trained, then ask the Lord for guidance if he's called you to preach on how to do it and where to do it. Like, these people, the former inmate coming out of prison and preaching, not saying it can't be real, but it's often another form of a hustle. And them encouraging this, it's giving bizarre to me. It really is. It's giving bizarre. And they don't take it seriously either if they just see it as a source of income for him. Yeah, y'all telling a lot about yourselves. Anyway, she's crying because of these skip-bow tarot cards, whatever the fuck it was, Uno cards with different pictures on them, telling her about the previous girlfriend, even though she's been married for 3 years to a man in prison. Girl, you didn't need those cards to feel that way. You have intuition, and that's what's really unnerving you. Patrice, the so-called astrologist, whatever the fuck she was, is not giving her any advice her sister couldn't have given her for free. He can't be the man that you want and need because he needs to get himself together. That's not even a read on him. That's just what it is. Like, this whole idea that you can just come out of prison and people expect you to be faithful and get married. Like, I don't think that's realistic. I think jail talk, wanting to do that kind of thing and then get on the outside and you haven't even hardly felt rain on your face for years. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break. We've seen this movie before. So Patrice was like, he's not going to be any help. I was like, duh. He can't come out and make a life automatically. It's hard to do that. Like, even if you graduate from college and just leaving school, it's hard to do that. So Zariah is leaving to go and pick him up. She has a spiritual bath. This girl is crazy. Last night to cleanse herself of negative feelings. I said, okay, girl. Okay. And it was clear it didn't work because you was in that car stressed out as fuck. Does Troy sound a little weird to y'all in his voice? I'm just going to use the word weird, just a little umbrella term for now. How have you been married for 3 years and you're asking, has all of this been jail talk? You are a fucking idiot. Like, you didn't think about that before you agreed to marry him in prison? Girl, she is beyond nervous. She was like scared. She has a very supportive family, and that's a good thing that they're in her life because when this goes bad, she's going to need them again. So the parole officer is playing games. They are just making him wait, and his family is waiting, which is, Zariah's family, but whatever. Honestly, I didn't think he was bullshitting. You remember that time, like, what was her name? I forget that name. That girl that moved from Louisville, Kentucky to Atlanta, and she was with Shante, and she had the private investigator. And when he said, oh, he wasn't there, couldn't get his name, it just sounded wrong. I really didn't think this guy was bullshitting. I didn't. And they are in some kind of high-speed chase, essentially having to chase the person who is supposed to be released. And I'm like, then the parole officer is basically trying to dash them and get away from the people trying to be there to pick him up. I was like, huh? But you know what? Don't none of this stuff really make no sense. But anyway, that's my take on it. I will talk to y'all soon. Have a great rest of your weekend.